Okay, in today's class, we will discuss about various issues which are related to threading concepts. Um, Generally, when we have multiple threads in a process, so there are some problems or there are some situations that operating system has to take care. So we will discuss about those issues which arises when particular computer system using multi-threading models. Okay, so multi-threading models you already know is nothing but instead of having a single thread in a process contains more than one thread. So in order to execute or in order to manage multiple tasks in a process, multiple threads are used. So single thread manages a single task. So we have already spoke about this, what actually a thread does and what are the functionalities of thread in the previous classes. So when we have multiple threads, there are also some issues which need to be taken care about. So we'll discuss those issues in today's class. So let's start our class. So these are the issues which are listed in this slide. So these are the issues which a computer with multi-threading architecture faces. The first issue is the fork and the execute system calls. So how these multi-threading models behave when a fork and execute system calls are activated or they are called. And the second issue is how the signal handling is taken care. Okay, we will discuss about this and how cancellation of thread is taken place, and we will also discuss about what is the local storage for a thread, or we can also call it as thread local storage. And last one, we'll talk about the lightweight process. So uh, when a computer system has this multi-threading architecture, so it has to take care about all these issues. So let's see how a computer handles all these issues. So let's first talk about this fork and execute system calls. You know, a fork is a function or a system call which is used to create a process. Fork function or fork method creates a process, and execute method executes a particular thread or a particular process. So we know these two things. Fork is used to create the process, and execute is used to execute that process. So how this fork method and execute method behave in multi-threading concepts or multi-threading architecture. So when we have multiple threads, so how these fork and execute methods are taken care. So if let me read out this one. This if one thread in a program calls fork, does the new process duplicate all threads, or in the new process single threaded? Excuse me, 1 minute. All right. So whenever a fork system call is activated or it is generated, so a separate process is created. So let's see what happens in multi-threading computer system. So if one thread in a program calls fork method, we have a question like, does the new process duplicate all threads, or is the new process single threaded? Okay, so here we have two situations. The situation one is whenever thread or whenever process or is a thread inside a program uh, calls a fork. That means when it tries to create a process, when it tries to create a process, so what will happen? Does that a newly created process have the same copies of threads, whatever the old program or a process have, or instead it will create or it will duplicate only the thread which have called for the fork. ఓకే. సో ఇక్కడ మనం గమనించినట్లయితే 2 సిట్యుయేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఒకటేంటంటే మీకు మీకు తెలుసు గదా! ఒక ప్రోగ్రామ్‌లో మనకి మల్టిపుల్ థ్రెడ్స్ అనేవి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతూ ఉంటాయి. సో, సపోజ్ మీరు వర్డ్ డాక్యుమెంట్‌లో పనిచేస్తున్నప్పుడు ఒక ఒక టాస్క్ వచ్చింది. ఒక టాస్క్ ఏంటంటే అది ఏమంటారు, కొత్త ఫైల్‌ని ఓపెన్ చేయటం. కంట్రోల్ ఎన్ అని మనం ఒక్కొక్కసారి కొడితే లేకపోతే న్యూ ఫైల్ అని మనం చేస్తే అప్పుడేమవుతుందంటే న్యూ ఫైల్ క్రియేట్ చేసే థ్రెడ్ అనేది ఏం చేస్తుందంటే అక్కడ కొత్త ప్రాసెస్‌ని క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంది. అవునా? కొత్త డాక్యుమెంట్‌ని మనం క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నాం. సో, అలాంటి సందర్భంలో ఏవైతే థ్రెడ్స్ పాతవి ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అవుతున్నాయో అవే థ్రెడ్స్ యాస్ ఇట్ ఈస్‌గా సెకండ్ దాంట్లో డూప్లికేట్ అవుతాయా? లేకపోతే ఓన్లీ ఏదైతే థ్రెడ్ కాల్ చేసిందో అది మాత్రమే డూప్లికేట్ అవుతుందా అనేది ఇష్యూ ఇక్కడనమాట. సో, ఇది మల్టిపుల్ థ్రెడింగ్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్‌లో మనం చూసే ఇష్యూస్ అన్నమాట. సో, ఇది దీనికి సొల్యూషన్ ఏంటంటే దిస్ డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ ద వాట్ టైప్ ఆఫ్ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ యూ ఆర్ యూజింగ్. కొన్ని ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్స్ ఏమో అన్ని థ్రెడ్స్‌ని డూప్లికేట్ చేస్తాయి. అంటే ఎప్పుడైతే కొత్త ప్రాసెస్ క్రియేట్ అయిందో, సో, కొత్త ప్రాసెస్‌లో గూడా పాత థ్రెడ్స్‌ని యాస్ ఇట్ ఈస్‌గా డూప్లికేట్ చేస్తాయి. కొన్ని ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్స్ ఏం చేస్తాయంటే ఓన్లీ ఏదైతే థ్రెడ్ ఆ కొత్త ప్రాసెస్‌ని క్రియేట్ చేసిందో ఆ ప్రాసెస్ మాత్రమే డూప్లికేట్ అవుతుందన్నమాట. సో, ఈ విధంగా ఈ ఇష్యూని అది హ్యాండిల్ చేస్తుంది. ఓకే. సో, ఇక్కడ మనకొచ్చిన ఇష్యూ ఏంటంటే ఎప్పుడైతే ఫోర్క్ అనే అంటే ఎప్పుడైతే ఒక 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 ప్రాసెస్‌లో ఉన్న ఒక థ్రెడ్ కొత్త ప్రాసెస్‌ని క్రియేట్ చేసిందో, అంటే ఇప్పుడు నేను చెప్పినట్టుగా ఆల్రెడీ ఒక వర్డ్ డాక్యుమెంట్‌లో ఉన్నాం మనము. ఆ వర్డ్ డాక్యుమెంట్‌లో ఒక థ్రెడ్ జనరేట్ చేసాం. ఆ థ్రెడ్ ఏంటంటే కొత్త డాక్యుమెంట్‌ని క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంది. అంటే మనము కంట్రోల్ ఎన్ అని ప్రెస్ చేసాము, లేదా ఫైల్‌కెళ్ళి న్యూ డాక్యుమెంట్ అని మనం క్లిక్ చేసాం. సో, ఏదైతే ఉందో కొత్త డాక్యుమెంట్ క్రియేట్ అయిపోతుంది. కొత్త డాక్యుమెంట్ క్రియేట్ అయిందంటే దాని అర్థం ఏంటి? కొత్త ప్రాసెస్ క్రియేట్ అయిపోయింది. సో, అలా కొత్త ప్రాసెస్ క్రియేట్ అయినప్పుడు ప్రీవియస్ ప్రాసెస్‌లో ఉన్న థ్రెడ్స్ అనేవి డూప్లికేట్ అవ్వచ్చు. లేదా ఓన్లీ ఏదైతే థ్రెడ్ దాన్ని యాక్టివేట్ చేసిందో అది మాత్రమే డూప్లికేట్ అవ్వచ్చు. అయితే ఇది ఆపరేటింగ్ ఏ ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ మీద డిపెండ్ అయి ఉంటుంది. సో, ఉపయోగించే మన ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ కొన్ని సార్లు ఏం చేస్తుందంటే అన్ని థ్రెడ్స్‌ని కాపీ చేస్తుంది. కొన్ని ఆపరేటింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ఓన్లీ ఏదైతే థ్రెడ్ యాక్టివేట్ చేసిందో అది మాత్రమే డూప్లికేట్ అవుతుందన్నమాట. ఇది ఒకసారి గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి. Okay, if you see this one, some Unix systems have chosen to have two versions of fork, one that duplicates all threads and other that duplicates only the thread that invoke the fork system call. So some operating systems even use both uh, techniques. So as I said, that depends on the operating system which you are using, and this is how this fork issue is handled. Okay. In the same way, whenever a thread invokes the execute system call, so when what will happen is whenever execute is nothing but you are trying to run the thread. So you are trying to allocate that thread to the processor. So in that case, is the whole process is going to execute or on a particular specific thread is going to execute. So this is another situation, or this is another case which a computer system has to handle. So whenever a thread is executed, only that thread is executed, or overall process in which that thread is there, that overall process is executed. Again, this depends on the operating system which the computer system is using. Okay, these are the first two issues which are faced when these computers have a multi-threading uh, concepts, multi-threading concepts. See, if you have only single thread in a process, then there is no need of worrying whether a total process is created or a total process is executed or a single thread is executed. Anyway, we have only one single thread. so we don't worry about these two things. But when we have multiple threads in this here, then we have to think whether that particular thread is affected, or the overall threads which are there in the process are affected. So we have to um, be aware of these things when the system is using the multi-threading concepts. The second issue here is this signal handling. So um, we know that in computer systems there are thousands of signals happening every second. Signals are nothing but exchanging of information, or intimation of something has happened somewhere in the computer system, so that we call it as a signal. So whenever a task is done, or a task is ready to be started or whatever, so that particular signal is sent to different components of computer. Like when we have finished the typing, and when we click on save, a signal is sent to operate this one processor to save that file. Or whenever we try to give a printout, a signal is sent to the output device printer to print the system. So each and every signal is handled, or is signal transfers happens in between the threads. Okay, so here we will see the four major options here, uh, that how a signal is delivered when we have multiple threads. So if there are only single threads, the single threads, or single threads of two process will exchange the signals, or simply they pass the signals. Understand? But when we have multiple threads, so what will happen? We will see. When a multi-threaded process receives a signal, to what thread should a signal be delivered? Suppose if we are executing a program, and that program is a multi-threaded program, that means that that program has, or that process has multiple threads in it. And whenever that process receives a signal, some thread in another process wants to communicate with the one thread in another process. Okay, are you getting me? So there are two processes, and each process have some threads in it, and one thread in one process want to communicate with the another thread in another process. So when a process receives a signal, what will happen? So these four actions can take place. The first one is deliver the signal to the thread to which the signal applies. So whenever a process receives a signal, so the it may deliver that signal to the uh, thread which it is intended to, or which it is applied for. Okay, so it is simply nothing but delivering the message to the person who is related to that thread or that information. So this is the first thing. The second thing is deliver the signal to every thread in the process. Operating system can also do this. When it does not know to whom the signal is for, what it can do is it can deliver that signal to all the threads inside the process. So whenever a message is received in a class, or in a something in a group of people, and the person to whom the message is to deliver, we don't have any clarity, what we'll do, we'll shout out that, right? So and so message has come, and the person who is related to that one, or concerned with this issue, please respond. We will simply deliver that message to each and every person inside the class or inside the group. In the same way, when the operating system does not know to whom the message is meant for, it simply delivers that signal to all the threads inside a process. So why it is facing this problem? Because that process have multiple threads in it. When it have a single thread, then there is no issue of asking or waiting or thinking. It simply delivers to that thread. Since it has multiple threads in it, so it has to think, or it has to deliver a message to all the threads. The third option is deliver the signal to certain threads in the process. like categorizing the threads inside a process based on the work they do or based on the task they are doing, and delivering to that particular group or certain threads to which it may think that signal belongs to. Suppose some threads are doing some input operations, so they are categorized into input threads. Some threads may do output operations. Okay, suppose if a signal is received, and if the operating system thinks that this signal belongs to input threads, so it simply delivers that message or signal to the certain threads which belongs to input operation, like delivering a message to a category of people or category of threads. And the last one is assign a specific thread to receive all signals in a process, right? So this is like appointing a person or an in charge who will take care of all the signals received. So when the operating system does not know to whom the signal is meant for, or to whom the signal should be sent, so what it can do is it can create a thread which handles all this signal management. So it's like a class in charge. Okay, so whenever the message is received or whenever the signal is received, the the in charge or the specific in charge thread will take care of what it can do. So these are the four types of options operating systems have when a signal is received in multi-threading architecture. So it can send that message to a particular signal, or it can send a message to every sorry but signal it can send the message to a particular thread, or it can send a message to all the threads in the process, or it can send that signal to a particular category of threads inside the process, or it can appoint, or it can uh, create a new thread to manage all these signals. So these are the options an operating system has to handle the signals. And the third thing is thread cancellation. See, whenever a thread completes its task, it has to be cancelled so that all the resources which are held by that thread are released. So you know that whenever a thread is executing or whenever thread is created, some resources are allocated to that thread. Resources like memory, processor, or some other devices or some other components of the computer. So whenever a thread finishes its task, it has to cancel or it has to terminate, right? So this cancellation of thread can happen in two ways. One is asynchronous cancellation and other one is deferred cancellation. So in asynchronous cancellation, what happens is whenever a thread completes its task, the thread is cancelled or terminated immediately without any further delay. It is deleted or terminated. We call it as asynchronous cancellation. Okay, so when the operating system thinks that this thread has finished its task, what it will do, it will simply terminate that thread so that it can release all the resources which are with the thread. The second type of cancellation is deferred cancellation. So deferred cancellation is nothing but giving or intimation or simply sending a message that uh, like giving messages to the threads, like whenever you complete the execution or task, okay, please terminate yourself. So sending message like this. So if you see the definition here, deferred cancellation sets a flag indicating the thread should cancel itself when it is convenient. It is then up to the cancelled thread to check this flag periodically and exit nicely when it sees the flag set. So it is not like terminating the thread without intimation, like it happened in asynchronous cancellation. So in this, cancellation happens with the intimation. So the operating system will send a flag or some type of message to the cancelled what threads that can terminate yourself whenever it is convenient for you. So that thread will receive the message from the operating system, and based on its convenience it will terminate itself. This is called deferred cancellation. And the operating system can use any of these two techniques. Either they can follow the asynchronous cancellation or they can follow the deferred cancellation. Got it? But this is how a thread cancellation happens: one without intimation and one with intimation. Right. And the next issue is local storage or thread storage. So when we have multiple threads inside a process, so and these threads will communicate with each other or communicate among each other, right? So when a process have 10 threads inside it, and these 10 threads share information among them, and these threads need a storage in order to store the information which they have, so that other threads can what we say access that information. So it's like a local storage. Okay, so if a thread has some information, it can it can place that information inside a common storage area where which can be accessed by other threads inside the process. So the other threads inside the process can access that area, and they can view that, they can access the information. So in this way they can exchange the information among the between the threads. We call that storage area as a thread local storage. So every operating systems should provide a local storage option so that the threads can communicate with each other. So if you read this one, most data is shared among the threads, and this is one of the major benefits of using threads in the first place. However, sometimes threads need thread specific data also. Sorry. Most major thread libraries provide support for thread specific data known as um, thread local storage or TLS. So most of the operating systems now have this feature of having the local storage area for threads uh, in order to this communication to happen. So they provide with this option called the local storage area, right? And the last one is scheduler activation. Okay, let me explain directly with this diagram. So there are two types of threads: user thread and a kernel thread. So user thread is a thread which is accessed or which is at the user side, and kernel thread is at the operating system side, or which are created by the operating systems. And user threads are generated or evoked when a user performs a task. Now there is a process called lightweight process in between a user thread and a kernel thread. Excuse me. So as you can see in this diagram, there is a thing called a lightweight process in between a user thread and a kernel thread. So it acts as a mediator between the thread, user thread, and the kernel thread. And let's see how it performs its task. Many systems implement either many to many or two level model uh, place an intermediate data structure between the user and the kernel threads. This data structure typically known as a lightweight process. So the data structure which is in between the user thread and the kernel thread is called as a lightweight process, which is nothing but what we say some entity of the processor, okay, which actually acts as a mediator between a user thread and a kernel thread. To the user thread library, the LWP, which is a lightweight process, appears to be a virtual processor on which the application can schedule a user thread to run. So, for the user threads, it is like a processor on which this thread can be executed. So, the user thread treats the lightweight process as a processor so that it can run on this one. Okay, so that is what this statement is saying here. To the user thread library, the LWP appears to be a virtual processor on which the application can schedule a user thread to run. So for this thread, it is like a virtual processor on which it can run. Right. Let me go to the next slide. So each lightweight process is attached to a kernel thread, and it is kernel threads that the operating system schedules to run on a physical processor. Now you can see here each LWP is linked with the kernel thread, and kernel thread in term it is connected to the operating system. So actual scheduling is done by the operating system. Okay, and you can see that there is a link between the what we say user thread, the LWP, kernel, and the operating system. So the operating system indirectly controls all the entities which are above its level. How it can done? How it is done? Let's see. If a kernel thread blocks, okay, such an if an interrupt occurs, let's see what will happen. The LWP blocks as well. So when a kernel thread is in a block state, then the lightweight process which is connected to the kernel thread is also blocked, and up the chain the user level thread attached to the LWP also blocks. So since they are linked with each other, when the operating system faces a IO interruption, then it blocks the kernel thread, and when the kernel thread is blocked, automatically the lightweight process will be blocked. Since the lightweight process is linked with the user thread is also blocked. So this is the architecture which is this is the what we say um, architecture which we can see in multi-threading models. Okay, so um, where there is a entity called a lightweight process in between a user thread and a kernel thread, and the user thread treats the LWP as a virtual processor, so that it can run on the lightweight process. But in turn, that LWP, which is lightweight processor, is connected to the kernel, which actually process this user thread with the instructions given by the operating system. Okay, so just remember this architecture, or this style of connecting this three user thread and lightweight process and kernel thread. So this method is seen in only multi-threading architectures or multi-threading models. Okay, so these are the issues which operating system has to take care when it is in a multi-threading architecture. I hope you understood today's class. Thank you very much.